Okay, hello everyone. So today we're going to go over chapter 11, which is the payroll processing. So last week we got to, in chapter 10, we got to actually set up the payroll process itself, which allowed us to fill in any information such as any benefits that we give to our employees, our compensations that we pay for our employees, and any deductions we allow for our employees. We also got to look at how to set up an employee as well as set up the taxes that are involved for having employees. So yesterday we just pretty much created the template for how we want payroll to be done. And today we're going to be looking at how to pay our employees via using a subscription. And then we're also going to be looking at how to use the employee center as well as how to pay our taxes. And then lastly, looking at a few payroll reports. Okay, so here we're supposed to be opening this file. And when we do, we actually, for this example, it is actually a sample example. So what that means is it is actually, it actually gives us a little snippet of what it's like to have a payroll process, have a payroll subscription process. So in this case, I actually don't know which one it's subscribed to, but there's definitely a payroll process in there. And what's different about QuickBooks is in your little software or on your homepage, you're going to notice that you're going to see a different icon, and it's going to say Employee Center. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. So usually this pops up right here, and that indicates that, okay, so the sample file that we have to use, you need to use the exact date because this program allows you to take a glimpse, and it's, again, it's very important that you stay within the measures. So let me go ahead and wait till my home screen loads. Okay, so again, if I look at my home page, okay, so I need to close this one first. Okay, I don't want this. I want my home page. You're going to notice that down here you have a payroll center, okay? If you, from the last previous example that we did for chapter 10, that wasn't there because we didn't subscribe to a payroll processing application, or we never subscribed to the 3 services that Intuit offers when you're dealing with payroll taxes. Yes, you can do a third-party vendor where you ask someone else, whether it's a banking person or another person outside of Intuit. You will never ever see this. Okay, so because if we go into Employee Center, you're gonna notice that there is this little window. We got the calendar here to mark off when our payroll is going to be. We also, if you look at the top, we have 3 categories. We could either pay our employees. We could either, we could either pay our employees. We could either pay our liabilities, or we could file forms. Now, again, what is inside the file forms? It's pretty straightforward. So any W-4 forms or W-2 forms that you have to print out and also save a copy for yourself. Any pay stubs that you want to keep track of each individual, you can also store in there as well. So each employee can have one of those forms. And then here we could select when we need to pay our employee, and then this one is we can when we are scheduled to pay our taxes. So each one, I'm going to go in each one, not each one, but I'm going to definitely go over how to pay the employee, and how to pay our taxes. But this is what the the payroll center looks like. Okay, so you get a little calendar. It gives you reminders actually when you need to pay both employees and your liabilities. So again, if you mark that you are a payroll either weekly or bi-weekly or semi-monthly, usually you'll get a little notification say, hey, you know, it's time to process your payroll and pay your employees. It also gives you a reminder of like whenever you set up or however you set up your liabilities. Okay, it will give you a friendly reminder that you have to pay your liabilities. And there are lots of fees and lots of charges if you do not pay your liabilities. Okay? So let's go ahead and explore the first one. So, most important thing is before even processing payroll, there is a checklist that you need to go over. All right. So the first one is going to be every pay day. Okay. So every time you have your pay period and it's time to pay your employees, you need to make sure that you verify, obviously, the check. Is it correct? Is it for the correct amount? Is the tax table correct? Okay. So where can you get this tax table? If you are personally calculating your in your actual payroll, you can find this on irs.gov/circular publication 15/circular E, and that's going to give you the correct tax table in order to correctly tax your employee for the federal income tax withholdings. Okay, but if you're using the payroll process, you would be able to get to view this just to make sure that you have the correct one, that it's for 2020 or 2019, whatever year that you're on. You want to make sure you have the most up to date. And remember, every year it changes in November. Okay, don't think that it's going to change in January. No, it's always set up in November of the previous year. Okay, so every time the tax law passes, it's effective starting November of the year. Okay, and then lastly, and then you want to make sure that you print your paycheck, your pay stubs, paychecks, and have them on file. Okay. Next, actually, you want to make sure that every tax deposit that you make, okay, every due date, okay, you want to make sure that you actually verify and make sure that it's the correct amount, and you also want to make sure that you print the depending on how often you pay it, the payments that you are going to pay, you want to make sure that you also do reports on that. And then, so it could be depending on how many employees that you have. Maybe you have to do every quarterly, every week, or every month. It just depends on how many employees you have, but it also depends on how much liabilities that you owe. So the person that's going to be looking at that is going to be determining that is going to be your IRS. So again, if you are working with a payroll processing, they should be able to contact you to let you know exactly how often you need to pay. And then quarterly, again, you want to make sure that everything that you've done so far, that you've created your reports for this quarter, and also to verify that that you currently have the most accurate payroll stuff done. Okay, you never want to wait till last minute to make your minor changes and stuff like that. And then lastly, every January you want to make sure that you want to verify the accuracy of the payroll again, and also create your annual summary of your payroll transactions, as well as your payroll reports and your tax liabilities as well. So these are just regular, pretty straightforward checklist items that you need to know before I go ahead and processing your paperwork. This is just to ensure that you have the accuracy of your payroll process and that you don't make mistakes. And lastly, also to properly pay your employees and also properly pay the government for having employees. Okay, so again, using the employee center. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look at that. The employee center, if you have the, so looking at our homepage, if you have the employee center, it's also going to show up the payroll center. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the payroll center real quick just to look at the homepage and go into the employee center that way. So again, your employee center is pretty straightforward. You're going to get the details of your employees. You're going to have their transactions of how many paychecks that you've written for them and what kind of things that you have processed with them. And then lastly, again, if you have your payroll center active, you should be able to see it here in your payroll. Okay, but if you don't have it or you don't have the actual payroll processing, this little tab here will not exist. Okay, this is us. They give us a sample file of us using the Intuit payroll services and how easy it is to process your paychecks this way. Okay, it's pretty straightforward because you only need to enter your information once. And what happens is the payroll process, right? You just select pay your employee and it's going to calculate everything for you. Okay, so it actually gets the system is a subscription, right? It's an additional feature excluded, that's extra in order to calculate everything for you, and they do it correctly instead of doing it by hand because when we move into our accounting class, we're going to see hands-on experience of how to do payroll by hand. And it's a little easy if you understand the steps, but if you don't know what you're doing and having to calculate each individual, because we have to also calculate based on their withholdings, right? Not every individual is going to be the same. Right? You may have like 50 employees. Every individual case will be the same. They're not going to have the same rate. They're going to have different withholdings and they're going to have different deductions. So you have to calculate each one carefully and separately. And yes. But other than that, so when you go into the employee center, you shall see your list of employees, their transactions, and lastly, you're introduced. The last thing is going to be the payroll center. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. So here the payroll center, I just went ahead and showed you where it was. So again, we'll look into what the payroll tax table is. So again, you would be able to find it again. It'd be irs.gov/publication 15/circular E, and it will give you the perfect table. But again, you know, if you're not calculating this and you have the processing system, you don't need to look this up. But for your measures of doing things on hand, you want to know where to find these exact things. So again, what a tax table looks like. Let me see if I'll be able to pull one up for you. So actually, let me see. So the payroll tax table or the circular E is actually pretty, it's a pretty long thing. And if you, there are actually two different types of tables depending on which method you actually use. So let me see. FITW percentage Okay, so if I were to look at this, right? So this is what the tax table will look like. This is for, there's two different kinds now since we moved on to 2020, and the W-4 form for 2020 has actually changed really drastically. I don't know if you guys looked at it, but it's not the same as what you filled out before. You're not calculating based on withholdings. You're just calculating based on deductions. But for this example, this is going to be one of the examples, which is going to be the percentage method. There is a bracket method. It's a little harder to use. The easier one is going to be the percentage method. So it's going to be based on your gross wages, subtract your withholdings. So it's going to be your adjusted amount. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the tax table. You're going to determine what kind of payroll period you're going to be working with. You're going to determine, are they married or are they single or filing? If they file joint, then you're going to, if they file a joint, then you will also use married. If they file separately, they're still technically married. They just don't pay together with their wife or significant other, okay? And that's actually considered a actual withholding if you file jointly, okay? Understand the difference. If you're still married and you file separately, you're still married, okay? But you're not claiming an extra withholding, okay? Make sure you understand that when you're dealing with your payroll process. Okay, so what's going to happen is it's going to be based on the adjusted after the deductions and after all the withholdings. So it's going to be based on how much they made total that pay period. So for the example, this is weekly. So let's say I made let's say I made $600 right here. I would go here. I belong into this little box right here between the 600 and the 1700. I'm going to go ahead and go across this, and what I'm going to see is they're going to automatically take away $38 from me with additional of 12%, okay? But that is after I've taken 609 away from my paycheck, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, I made 650. So I have to take 609 first, and anything extra from there, they're going to calculate 12%, and then they're going to add an additional 38%, $38, okay? And that's just depending on your marital status, and then at the top, you're going to calculate all your withholdings and subtract it right out of your paycheck. So that is pretty much how you would manually do a payroll process, and understanding that every individual is completely different. It's good to know you don't have to calculate this ever if you're going to use a payroll service. But this is just an FYI to let you to be exposed to what a tax table even looks like. Okay, and this is the most recent one for 2020. So this is what the tax table looks like. All right. So let's go ahead and view what the next portion is. Now we're going to go ahead and start paying our employees. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select an employee to pay. And so we're going to be in our payroll center. Okay, so here, payroll center, we're going to select, to make sure that we select pay employee, and we're going to go ahead and process their payroll. So we have 2 employees. If you remember looking back at our employee center, we only have 2 employees. We have a Katie Reynolds and we have a Mike Mazowski. Okay? So one of them is going to be salary and the other is going to be hourly. So again, if you were to click it, you'd be able to see on here their information. Okay. So here we can see that Katie Reynolds is actually okay. Well, it's okay. If you were to double click her information, you'd be able to find whether she's a salary or whether she's an hourly wage. But in this case, since we've already set it up in the previous example, so whatever time we pay her, it's going to be the standard salary rate that we pay her I think we pay her every two. We don't pay her twice a week. I think we're on a semi monthly schedule. But yes, we have two employees. We have Katie, she's a salary based, and we have Mike, who is wage based. So I'm gonna go back to the payroll center, and I'm gonna go ahead and click that I need to pay for December 18 or December 16, 2018, which is supposed to be it's supposed to be paid out tomorrow. So let's go ahead and double click that. Then you're going to get a window, and this is how we start to pay our employees. One thing that we need to make sure is we need to make sure that who exactly are we dealing with and what are we actually going to be processing. So for in this case, we have two people. We got Katie and we got Mike. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I set my pay. So there's two dates. Okay, there's one where your payroll period ends, and there's actually one where you're gonna have allow to when the employees can actually cash out their checks. So in this case, since my payroll period ended on the 16th, I'm going to say I normally pay my employees every Friday. So I'm going to change this date to Friday, December of 2019. So I'm going to make it available to be cashed out on the 20th. Okay. So I'm going to say the payroll ends on the 16th, but I'm going to have the check. I'm going to make sure that everyone gets their check by Friday. So there's that right there, and you want to make sure that it's going to come out of your checking account, and it says right here how much you have the balance in your bank, and do you have enough to even pay your employees. So here we're going to we want to make sure that we print our paychecks on check stock. If you don't want to have it printed out via your own printer, yes, you can go to the bank and be able to process it this way too. You just make sure you give them your QuickBooks file and they will process the paychecks for you, or you could print out a form with the correct amount so you can go ahead and print the checks for them. So then here we see that we're going to pay both Katie and we're going to pay both Mike. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Okay, so those are the two employees that we're going to pay. We've already changed the dates, so then we made the check available for Friday. And I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now what's going to happen is it's going to pull you into another window. Okay, and it says, well, you're only going to print 2 paychecks, which is correct, okay? And for these amounts here, it's already calculated with all of the information here. Now, what you can do is, let's say I need to make an adjustment. What's going to happen is I would have to click on the person, and I get to see their whole entire, okay, maybe I have to go back. Okay, so let me see if I were to do this. If I were to click on the individual person here, Katie Reynolds I could go ahead and adjust Katie Reynolds' payroll here. Okay, for example, she's a salary base. Okay, so we recognize that this is true and all this information is correct. However, I believe we are going to enter in information such as she received some other pay. So before pressing that continue button, you want to make sure that you select the employee and make sure that you adjust their value as accordingly. So in this case, we want to make sure that we properly pay Katie for her sick time and for her vacation pay. So here, Katie Reynolds, we have a separate line for her salary already there. And it gives us all the list right here on the right side. It's going to be all the taxes that she's going to incur. And here on the left side is going to be all the things that we benefit for, all her benefits and deductions that we have for her. Hello. So here, yes, so again, the left side is going to calculate all the benefits that we offer her. So we offer her.
Sorry for being late.
No worries. So here we have things that we benefit. So we set up a 401k for her. We allow yes, and we also pay for medical insurance for her. And it also comes out of her paycheck. Okay. And then on the right side is going to be all the taxes that she has to incur. And it also gives you a little information whether she's a single or a married person. Again, the tax table is what determines what is going to be taken out of. Now, of course, these are 2019 tax tables, so our answers are going to look a lot different from back then to what should be now. But again, because we're paying for the payroll process, it should automatically pull all this information for you. Okay? And then let's see. So here it gives us what exactly her check is supposed to be. We're supposed to pay her $2,500, but after doing her benefits and deductions, and then also calculating her taxes, her new check is going to be for $1,811. So she is paying almost a big, huge chunk towards her taxes and her benefits, and she's that's about $700. That's a lot. Yes. So let me see. What's the next? I think we're supposed to calculate for her vacation pay, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. So yes, we need to include on Katie Reynolds that we're going to give her salary vacation, and it's going to be for $85.23. But no matter what it is, her total is still going to be $2,500. Okay, so we need to make that adjustment. So 85.23 is our what she gets for her vacation pay. So hold on, let's see. Confirm that 4% is in the rate. Okay. So again, this is just to make sure that we validate that the tax tables are correct. So in this case, we would need to create another line item. And this line item is going to be salary vacation. Okay. So once we add that, it automatically splits it up here. We know that it's for $85.23. So what's going to happen is if I were to do that and I were to click tab, and then it's going to say that, and I'm going to say okay, we need to make sure that this is going to be for the 200, was it 2,400? Hold on. What was it, 2,400?
It's saying to put the hours in, not the rate, Lynn. I don't know if that.
In the hours?
Yeah. It's saying column for salary regular and 3 for salary vacation.
Oh, okay. I see.
And then it'll calculate it.
Perfect. Thank you. So here we're going to do 85 here. And then 3 for vacation. And 3 for vacation. And there you go. Thank you. So that's how you're going to calculate that. That's weird. Their salary. But anyways. Yeah, so once we've added our, other benefits such as, so we offer them to have vacation pay. Must be nice to work for this company who pays for you to be on vacation. So there you go, making sure that the rest of the tax tables are correct. But in this case, again, I have no actual thing to compare it to except for the book. The book just says make sure that 401k is 4%, which it is. Make sure that they take $100 for health insurance or medical insurance. So we can validate everything here. So again, nothing has changed. It's still going to be for 14, for 18, 14. I think it was earlier, it was 1811, but now it only changed a little bit. I'm not quite sure how they tax on vacation pays. I don't know if it's differently taxed, but I would only assume it's not different. If they're all, no matter what, she's still making the $2,500. All right. Now that we verified everything, you can go ahead and either save. You can either save this window or move on to the next person. I'm gonna go ahead and save and close for this one, and yes. So now it's highlighted in yellow because we just made an adjustment to it. Now let's see. Do we need to change Mike Mazowski's information, or do we need to adjust his information? Let's see. Let me see. Yes, Mike Mazowski. We need to, let's see, he's receiving $24 an hour. And we need to validate that he worked for 80 hours. So he should have $1,920. So let's go ahead and check to verify that information. So I'm going to go ahead and click Mike Mazowski. And yes, perfect. 80 for $24, $920. And of course, our tax tables are going to look it should look a little different because we're calculating it now. All right. So now that everything matches up perfectly, I'm going to go ahead and save and close. So no adjustments to Mike Mazowski. Once we validated that both of our paychecks are correct and has been adjusted, we could go ahead and proceed to the actual payment process, okay? So here, I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Make sure that the date is the same and validate it. Make sure that you check all those, mark those things. And once everything looks good, I'm going to go ahead and create the paychecks. So now I got the beep of approval, and it's going to ask, this window is going to pop up saying, hey, do you want to print them now or do you want to print them later? Or do you want to print the paychecks or do you want to print the pay stubs? So you can choose both options, okay? And normally, when you actually print them out, you have actually a variety of ways you can print them out. Now, depending on the person that you're printing for, or let's say you are printing them manually with your business printer, make sure that you go buy the proper paper. It's not the same, okay? It's a different special type of paper. I don't know if you need special ink for this special paper. I just know that they do allow businesses to either pay for them or you can actually use Intuit to buy those paychecks for you. So again, let's go ahead and click pay paychecks. So I'm going to get this little window here and it says which ones do I want to pay. I want to pay for Katie Reynolds and I want to pay for Mike Wazowski. Okay, let's see. Company message to be printed on all paychecks. Nothing really. I want both. If they have direct deposit, again, that's a whole separate scenario, which we got to look in the payroll process. If they are direct deposit, you want to make sure that you select that and deposit it from your bank directly into theirs. Okay, but in this case, I want to print paychecks. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and select paychecks. And what's going to happen is you are actually able to look at what you what you're going to be printing. Let me see which window that is. I don't know if you have to press OK. So select paychecks in QuickBooks. All right. Let's see. It says total amount of those checks. Okay, so okay, so it just okay. I don't know if it's under preferences. No, it's not. Okay, so let's go ahead and cancel. Okay, I guess I click OK. Okay, here you go. Yes. So once you click OK, you're going to get the print checks window. So again, depending on which check that you buy, okay, or purchase, make sure that you understand that which one that you want to use. Now, what a voucher does is it gives you the list of activities that you've done, so all your transactions, the hours that you work, the amount of taxes that are taken out, the amount of withholdings you are withholding, and the payroll period. All that information, your social security, all that information is going to be on that piece of paper. And then lastly, it prints out the check at the bottom. Okay, so you get the pay stub, and you get the check included under voucher style. Okay, standard is going to be just checks after checks after checks. Wallet size is pretty straightforward. You're going to get the smaller pocket version of your paycheck, which is it's not pocket size, but it's definitely the size of a regular paycheck instead of like a quarter or a third of a page. It's going to be the regular size check. So that's what wallet style is. So you want to make sure that you understand which paper that you buy and you select which kind that you're actually going to be looking at. So in this case, I'm going to do voucher style because I want to have the check as well as the pay stub connected together. This is usually often the most popular kind that available, but you can again have the option to print out the stub on a regular piece of paper and just print out the check and just have it already teared out and selected to the person. So again, this is pretty much going to be what kind of options you want to choose for it. Yes. So collate means you have it in order. Okay. So understanding that Do you want to print any company name? Of course, we want to print the company name. Use logo. Again, if you want to use your logo, you're going to have to upload it through the file, which I actually do have. So let's go look for that logo. It's going to be here. And it should be under logo. Oopsies, I'm in the wrong one. Not that one. This one. And here you go, logo. Okay. So there you go. I want to attach that logo. Okay. And then you want to print signature image? Yes, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and select the same thing, and you should actually be able to see your signature available in that same folder. Let me see. I think I'm not in that same folder. So here's your signature. And I want to print that. Okay. There you go. All right. And I'm going to click OK. So things that you want to do, if you actually want to sign it yourself with a real pen, it's up to you. But if you have like a million, employees, or you have hundreds of employees, it's best that you just print your signature. So again, there you go for the options to do that. Now, of course, I'm not going to print this out just because I don't want to print it out for the sake of this class. So I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel. Okay, so all this work is going to be canceled. Okay. So yeah. So that is what's going to happen there. Another thing that I want you to also know too is you can actually print out your pay stub at any given time, okay? So oftentimes what you do with pay stubs is you can either print them out to keep track of your employees. Maybe your employees have some a discrepancy they want to come to you for. They might need a copy for any some reason. You can provide them, and you should be able to provide them copies of their own pay stub. Okay, you can have it available to them whenever they want or whenever they ask for it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where to do that. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. So I'm not going to pay them. But that's how you go through the payroll process, and it does it for you automatically. So what I could do is I could go to File, right? And I'm going to click Print. I'm sorry. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Print Forms. And under Print Forms, you have a few options. You could do paychecks or pay stubs, okay? So again, you can print it at any time. If I click pay stubs, I have the option right here to print these out. And it's the one that we are dated for. You can also search it up here on what date that you want specifically and you can also select a specific individual if you'd like. Let's say I want a whole, actually, no, what am I talking about? This is the account that you're looking for. So again, here, the date, you can toggle the date here. If you're looking for all of them, for all employees or a specific person, you can select, let's say I just only want Katie's thing, and I want her pay stubs from, I want it from this month all the way to March 2020, which in this case, once I do that, I have 4 paychecks that I have sent out to her. All right. And yes, so there you go. So it's going to print me all of her pay stubs all in one shot. And yes, okay. The only thing that you can't do and should not do is once you print a paycheck, it's not the best to print another paycheck, okay? Reason being is you don't want to overpay your person. But yes, this is how you can toggle to print your pay stubs for a specific employee and for however many paychecks you want to, or pay stubs that you want to print. Okay, and you will also to be able to find all that information if you just go to if you could just go to Katie's transactions, you could see all her paychecks um, from from January of last year all the way to December. Okay, let's see what else is next. So next is editing paychecks. Now, editing, voiding, and deleting paychecks is highly recommended as a no-no. They highly recommend you to not do that. But again, for any reasons, you can and you are able to be able to edit it. What's just going to happen is you need to void the check before anything. And then if you're going to send a new check, then send a new check. Okay? But the number one thing that you should do is you got to for surely void the check first. And then make the adjustment and then go from there. You are going to create a new paycheck for them. So in this case, I think, let me see. Did we write a bad check or do we need to void a check? So in this case, we're going to edit void a paycheck. Oops, sorry. For excuse me. So for this example, it wants us to go to our payroll center and select who, payroll center and pay employees tab. Select the edit and void paychecks. I'm so sorry. Link in the other activities. So, okay. So I see what we're doing. So we go here. We're already here in the employee center. We're gonna go into the payroll center, and at the bottom you're gonna see these few activities we can do with the given information. So here, I'm so sorry, guys. So here we want to select the edit and void paychecks. And when we click that, we're going to see, well, which one did you want to void a check for? So because they highly recommend you to do number one is before you send your paycheck out. So in this case, this is the perfect time you can make adjustments or to void the check. Why? Because I haven't sent it out to my employees yet, okay? But for any case that you have already written the check, you've already sent it out to the employee, and they come up to you and say, hey, I think you calculated this wrong. I did these hours instead of these hours. And what's going to happen is you're going to come over here and you're going to void the check. But in this case, we haven't even sent out our check yet. So we are still good to go in order to make our adjustment and to give them the proper payment. And yes, to give them the proper payment and before we even send out these checks. Okay, so that's where you'll be able to find that. Okay, so again, it's at the bottom of the payroll center. Okay. Now let me see, does it actually tell me to actually do it? here, we're supposed to have a lot of more checks than that. Let's see. I think we're supposed to toggle our date to be December 1st all the way to the December 31st. So up here, we're going to change the date here to December 1st, and then making sure that it's all the way to December 31st. Oopsies. Okay, so here we have 2 checks written. So again, they are on a semi-monthly payroll, meaning they get paid on the 15th and the 30th, I believe. Yes, so the payroll period ended on the 15th, so we're paying them on the 20th. Okay, so here we see 2 checks for Mike and 2 checks for Katie. So let's see. We're going to select the last one, and are we going to void it for Mike Wazowski's paycheck date to be 2/6/12/16? Okay. So if I double click it, my window pops up with his actual check. Okay, so let's see what you can do. Okay, so remember when we are going to void a paycheck, right? You can't, so this information, right? If I want to void it, I have to actually go to edit and void the paycheck this way. Okay, I can't right click it. There's no option at the top to be able to do it. All you can do is delete it. But again, that is highly not recommended to do. Okay, no deleting. So in this case, we want to make sure that all of our information is accurate. And if we sent this paycheck before out, so let's see, we sent it out on the 20th. So Mike here, we haven't, well, first of all, we haven't even printed out for him yet. But let's see what we need to change for his paycheck, unless we just need to void it in general. Okay, click edit the items, the paycheck, and then click paycheck detail. Edit the items on the paycheck, click paycheck detail. Hold on. Mike Wazowski. Okay, we just selected him. Now we need to edit the items on the paycheck, click paycheck detail, which is going to be let's see, paycheck detail. Okay, right here. So we're going to select paycheck detail. And it says that we're supposed to actually change the class to which he belongs to, which is, I don't know how significant that is.
In the top right corner.
Top right corner, we want to change his class, or we want to mark it San Jose. So again, classes, right? I don't know how important it is to separate your actual paychecks via division, but it does make sense if you're paying two separate paychecks specifically for one person, and let's say, okay, my San Jose location, he's there at my San Jose, while Katie is here at Walnut Creek. So again, this is for reporting purposes. So now that I enter that information, let's see, do I need to enter or change anything else? Click cancel, then save and close. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. And then this one, a save and close. So we didn't need to make any adjustments to his paycheck. But yes, again, let's say I've already sent out and I need to void the check. I can't, let me see if I could be able to right click it. Nope, you can't right click it. You can only double click it. So again, there is no other option for you to actually void the paycheck. You can do this manually if you go to the check register and right click and void it. But the proper way to do it is you're going to go to edit and you're going to click void check. Okay? So, yes. Okay, so right now it is 9:30. Let's take a quick 15-minute break, and then we can go ahead and talk about payroll liabilities. Ouch.